How's it going, guys? Well, I wanted to show you how I'm going to layer these pots. This is a 30-gallon fabric pot. It's by Vivosun. Find it on Amazon. They're selling 5 packs for like $20, and it's like 15% off right now. So you're talking $4 a pot, right? I have a video where I talked about these caddies that I made. They're super cheap caddies. You know, it's like $8 for the roller, and then $5 for the boot tray, and then this $4 for this. So pretty cheap to get into this, and there's a lot of good reasons why you would want to do that. A lot of labor savings, water savings, you know, quality improvements of your crops, things like that. And you can do it all organic and all natural, and the worms do a lot of work for you, no-till, all that stuff. So there's a lot of you know, worthwhile ideas in there. I know it seems a little bit silly maybe to, you know, the cover crop and all that stuff. It just seems like maybe you're just joking yourself or something, but all of it makes a lot of sense when you actually look into it. The cover crop is actually going to, you know, basically if you spread alfalfa seed through here, it's going to put roots all over the place so that when you water, there's a lot of entry points for the water to go in, and it also protects from the top layer becoming hydrophobic and just over, you know, too much evaporation. So you're talking less watering, more effective watering, more effective, you know, plant pot size essentially. So a lot of these new fabric pots, the really expensive ones, actually come with a liner inside of plastic to keep the evaporation down a little bit on the sides, but on the bottom it still, you know, has plenty of gas exchange, which I think is a pretty good idea. So this is a 30-gallon, it's a 24-inch diameter. So in order to make it a little more wieldy, I'm shaping it into like an oval shape on this caddy. So that way it'll fit through narrow spaces easier, and but you'll still get almost the full volume out of it. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to follow Layton's advice. If you guys have studied much on no-till living soil, he talks about soil horizons, and he gave some basic details on how that would work. He said on the first bottom layer that you're going to put in, it's going to be like stone, which he said something like 3/4 inch to 1 inch stone, maybe even 2-inch stone. You want to layer that in and then put coarse sand to pack that in. And if it's dry, you might want to water that in a little bit. The next layer is a 50% sand, 20% organic matter, 17% clay, 13% silt. I didn't get that precise, but that second layer, it makes a lot of sense what it does. It basically will pull moisture out of the top layer, and it'll also put moisture back up into the top layer if that's needed. Once again, reducing your watering. Now these bottom 2 layers are not fertile, you know, so basically stone and sand and things like that, there's not a lot of fertility. There's a little bit of mineralization, and the clay might have some fertility in it if there's some clay mixed into that middle layer, but it's not the organic sort of compost layer that we're talking about here. So ultimately that actually helps you fill up your 30-gallon pot without having to have, like, you know, 25 gallons of really expensive, really high quality soil. You're probably going to get almost the same results from the bottom sections being sand and rock. So, you know, you're talking, so basically he says he wants the bottom layer as 1 part, the middle layer 2 parts, and the top layer 3 parts. It gives you some idea what you're talking about here. So half of it is going to be sand and rock and clay, and the other half is going to be organic stuff, the really good high quality soil amendments. So that's the general theory here. So I'm going to take like 4 big rocks and put them in the corners to kind of get the shape started, and I'm going to layer in probably about this much of rock, and then I'm going to pack that up to about here with this sand. And for the middle layer, I actually went out into the woods and kind of scraped away the leaves, and I scraped away the top layer, the sort of black, crumbly stuff. I scraped that out of the way, and I found a section that was really sandy. But it's not pure sand, and you can tell because it's got a little bit of a darker color to it. So some of the silt and things in the organic matter has sort of filtered down into that sand layer. And so that is what I'm going to use as my middle layer. That's why I'm not going to be super precise about it. And maybe it's a little low on clay, I'm not sure. But I'm going to give it a try. So, because it's very convenient, it's right there. So, you know, if you guys do harvest something like that from the woods, number 1, make sure it's from a clean spot, right? It doesn't have, you know, some kind of agricultural runoff going directly in there, or maybe even like a drain field or something. But number 2, you know, anything, don't leave bare soil behind when you harvest anything from out there. Kind of just take from one area and then, you know, kind of cover it back in. And Layton pointed out you should bring some kind of an offering of some kind, you know, try to give something back. What I like to do is just clean up some garbage while I'm out there, you know, just find some plastic garbage or a tire or something, you just haul that out of there. sort of just, and ironically, it's probably disturbing some of the life forms that have made a home in that tire and all that. But ultimately, it's just things that are plastic and unnatural. I just try to pull them out of there, and maybe it makes it. Who knows? Maybe it makes it easier for a deer to, to not be distracted by some weird piece of plastic or something, and maybe it makes all the difference for that deer. Or if you find some old barbed wire fence that someone had put up and never took down, and a deer is running through the woods and hits that at night, cut that stuff out, take it with you, scrap it, that kind of stuff. Just clean up the woods a little, show some love. So I like to do that, as my offering. So anyways, that's your bottom half is going to be the sand and stone, and then for the top half, I like to use a combination of basically a lot of compost, essentially, and reuse it. So something that you're going to be able to reuse over and over again. They say there's problems with peat moss, right? There's a lot of arguments against peat moss, and I tend to agree with that. Peat moss is nice and fluffy, but in a system like this, you're not going to probably need as much fluff in your top layer. A good healthy compost is going to have lots of nice fluff to it, and also you want to have probably the normal amount of aeration for that top layer, because you don't want to end up with anaerobic parts. And so then that's the general theory here. And then of course, once you have it almost to the top, then I like to spread, what I'm planning on doing here, and I've done this on another one, is I'm going to spread alfalfa seeds. That's organic alfalfa that I found on Amazon. It's like 25 bucks for 2.5 pounds. It'll last you a long time. And I spread that across. And I also took some worms directly out of my worm bin, and I kind of transplanted them into that top layer of organic matter. Try to, hopefully they will establish themselves and reproduce and enjoy this as their new home. I think it's a lot better of a home than their current home, which is a taupe, and a lot of temperature changes out there, and there's not enough air, and there's probably too much feed, and not enough, too much green, not enough brown in that taupe. So I think they're going to prefer this new home, and your plants probably will too. The plants will put their roots down into that clay sand layer, and they will be able to get some certain nutrients and minerals, and even the mycorrhiza fungi supposedly will reach all the way down to that rock layer and maybe even pull some minerals out of that rock layer. So there's a lot of advantages there. So I'm going to put a little bit of moss, a little bit of alfalfa as a cover crop, and maybe even a few rocks here and there, maybe some cool sparkly rocks or something, put them here and there. Some eggshells that are still intact, kind of bury them in a little bit. Those are good for worm houses. I heard about avocado tech, maybe. You put some avocado shells in there and that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of things you can do there, but the idea is that you would harvest your crop and not have to re-amend it and dig it all up and till it up and disturb the life and disturb the earthworms. Just cut your crop and then basically re-amend it with some really good fertility, and maybe even you have some compost or some really good compost and stuff, mix that in, and then replant just right back into it. So imagine the amount of labor savings, and also there should be a significant reduction in how often you have to water, especially if you wrap the outsides of this with plastic. Now, if this is going to be outdoors, I think it's generally recommended to use a tan fabric. If you look into Grassroots, they actually sell fabric pots that are already lined with plastic on the inside, and they do tend to be tan. The one downside with tan, I guess, is it's a little bit unsightly at the bottom. Sometimes you're going to get mineralization and stuff like that, but I prefer the black for myself. But I live in New England, where it's actually most of the time it's too cold, not too hot. So, if these things were out in the beating sun, you probably don't want black. Maybe, and if you do have black, maybe you could wrap a white plastic around the outside. But I don't know, it's a lot of fun. This is a lot of the advantages. Maybe the quality of your crop will be improved as well. So if you have any questions or comments, please post them. And if you want to look up more information about this, check out the Future Cannabis channel and some of the interviews about living soil and soil horizon layers with Leighton. There's a lot of good information on there, and there's a lot of other people that have been interviewed on that channel that have put lots of good info in regards to living soil as well. So thank you for watching.